Hello, welcome to Anita the Pedagogue channel. Today, we are going to look at a very short summary of Wole Soyinka's drama, Death and the King's Horseman. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that right away and hit the like button to support this channel. Let's get started. Analysis summary of Act 1, which is set at a marketplace of an ancient Yoruba city. Ellison, accompanied by his praise singer, visits a bustling marketplace run by women. As they stroll through the marketplace, they engage in lively conversations filled with age-appropriate proverbs and sayings. The women in the market join in Ellison's stories and admire his vibrant and entertaining nature. They hold him in high regard as the king's horseman because their future prosperity is dependent on him. 30 days after the king's death, Ellison is obligated to willingly enter a trance and sacrifice himself to guide the king's spirit from the realm of the living to that of the ancestors. This important ritual is scheduled to occur the following day. Ellison playfully teases the women in the market, pretending to be offended, which prompts them to apologize. However, they soon realize that Ellison desires a change of clothing that represents his elevated status. Subsequently, they dress him in luxurious attire, example in the alari. During his time in the marketplace, Ellison becomes enchanted by a beautiful young girl and instantly wishes to marry her. Although the girl is already engaged to the son of Iyaloja, the chief of the market women, everyone agrees to the union out of gratitude for Ellison's willingness to sacrifice himself. The marriage proceeds as planned. Observing how joy Ellison finds in life, Iyaloja uses proverbs to caution him against hesitating on the upcoming day, as it may hinder his ability to fulfill his duty for the king. In anticipation for his death, Ellison requests that his bride be the one to watch him and close his eyes after he passes away. Act 2 is set at a district officer's house. Pilkins, a British district officer, and his wife Jane are preparing for a fancy dress ball by practicing their dancing. However, their choice of costume, an egungun outfit traditionally worn in religious African ritual to connect with the ancestor spirits, angers Amusa, a native policeman. Amusa refuses to speak to Pilkins while he wears the costume, as he fears it is disrespectful. While Pilkins and Jane continue their preparations, Amusa writes a note informing them about Ellison, who is about to undergo a ritual known as committing death as part of a local custom. Perplexed, they ask Joseph, a household servant, to explain further. Joseph informs them that Ellison's purpose is to die and accompany the deceased king to heaven. Pilkins recalls his past conflict with Ellison, where he forcefully sent Ellison's son Olunde to England to study medicine against Ellison's wishes. Unknowing to Pilkins, Olunde's destiny is to become the future king's horseman after Ellison's death, and leaving home might hinder that. Pilkins and his wife struggle to comprehend how a custom can revolve around somebody's death. Their lack of understanding leads them to be disrespectful and dismissive about Nigerian culture and its people. Even Joseph, who has converted to Christianity, is offended when Pilkins jokes about holy water. Pilkins decides to intervene, sending a written order to Amusa, instructing him to arrest Ellison to prevent his suicide. Pilkins is motivated by the presence of the prince at the upcoming ball and aims to avoid any local disturbances that could arise from Ellison's traditional obligation. Act 3 is set at the marketplace. Amusa arrives with officers to arrest Ellison, but they are met with resistance from the market women, who harass them relentlessly. Eventually, Amusa and his officers are forced to leave without Ellison. The women, along with Iyaloja, feel triumphant in their victory. However, the atmosphere shifts when Ellison emerges Adorned in a white robe, he announces that his final marriage has been consummated and that there is now a promise of future life. Ellison expresses his eagerness to fulfill his sacred role. He requests that his bride remain by his side to anoint his eyes with earth after his death, as it is a crucial part of the ritual. As the praise singer initiates the traditional call and response, Ellison gradually enters into a trance, his dance movements becoming slower and more deliberate as he succumbs to the trance state. Act 4. This is set at the residency. The ball is in full flow with the prince as the guest of honor. Pilkins and Jane have had their Egungun costumes admired. The resident has brought a note from Amusa, who reports that he has been unable to arrest Ellison. Pilkins rushes off to deal with this. Jane speaks to Olunde, Ellison's son, who has traveled home as soon as he heard the king is dead. He comments on the Egungun costume, saying he knows the English do not respect what they don't understand. They talk of the war, displaying different ideas of duty. The drums change their rhythm and Olunde says they announce his father's death. He has returned to bury his father, knowing that he too would die. Jane is shocked at his acceptance of this. Olunde tries to explain the custom, but his reliance on death seems barbaric to Jane. He now wants to go and mourn for his father. Pilkins returns and calls the aide-de-camp to ask whether the old cellar at the residency is still a secure holding place. Suddenly, Ellison runs in, shouting in anger. When he sees Olunde, he stops still in shock. Olunde is ashamed that his father has failed to carry out the duty his people have relied on him to do, that of the king's horseman. He insults Ellison and leaves him sobbing in shame. Act 5. The old cellar prison. Ellison is at the cells, chained and guarded. Pilkins believes he has done his duty in saving Ellison's life, but Ellison tells him instead he has destroyed his life, along with the lives of many of his people. He asks that he is sure Olunde will avenge his shame at his failure. Ellison speaks to his bride, confessing that he blamed others for his failure. The white man, then his gods for deserting him, then his bride herself for sapping his will to carry out the ritual. He describes his desire for worldly things had made him long to stay rather than die to go to the next world. But he believes he was resisting this desire and preparing to let go of life when Pilkins interrupted him. Iyalaja is allowed in. She accuses Ellison of betraying them, using vivid proverbs and riddles to portray how their cycle of life has been cut by him. Ellison tries to defend himself, but Iyalaja is very angry. She has brought a burden carried by the women to his cell. Pilkins is uncertain whether to allow this. He thinks perhaps Olunde is causing trouble and considers ordering him to be removed from the area. This reinforces his complete lack of understanding of events. That is a dramatic irony. The women enter ceremoniously and set down a long, heavy object shrouded in cloth. Ellison asks Pilkins to be set free to perform his duty for the courier of the king, but Pilkins refuses. The cloth is drawn back, revealing Olunde's body. He has honorably killed himself to try to restore the harmony broken by Ellison's failure. Ellison suddenly loops the chain round his own neck and strangles himself. Iyalaja laments the lateness of Ellison's death and stops Pilkins from closing Ellison's eyes, a task assigned by Ellison to his bride. She does so and pours a little earth over each eyelid. Iyalaja tells her to forget the dead and the living and to think only of the future and her unborn child. This brings us to the end of our lesson today. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Until I come your way again, keep learning and be the best version of yourself.